Hi everybody, it's Paul here from Triathlete. Hope you're well. Today I've got a really exciting blog post for you, an interview with Dr. Nicholas Romanov, founder of the pose technique, and founder of the fact, well, not necessarily the founder of this, but definitely publicises that there's never any movement happens without gravity, and that includes all of your movement that you ever do, including your swim, bike and run. And Dr. Romanov would definitely ask you, are you properly utilising gravity to your best advantage when you're competing? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Also to my right is Dmitry Bukov. Dmitry is a former national team triathlete and modern pentathlete, and more recently in the last 2 years has become the head coach for the Russian triathlon team. And we're here today to speak to these guys about something that came up in a discussion yesterday that I think you'll find really interesting. So guys, we're here to talk to you today about what separates the great from the good, but also what two things you should really think about when you're partaking in setting yourself up for your first triathlon. So I'm going to bring the guys into the conversation. So guys, we had a conversation yesterday and we spoke about two very important things, and they are the responsibility and perception. So guys, why is it that responsibility and perception can elevate someone from just being a good triathlete to being a great triathlete? Dimitri?
The most important thing in sport training is it is not physiology, it is your mind, your goals and your perception. You must have answers for questions. Why I do, what do I want, what is my goal, and if you have answers for these questions, you will be moved to your goal. Of course, physiology, sport techniques, gravity, it's very important things, but it is only tools for your help on this way.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Sure. So the necessity and the need of why you want to be a triathlete is one of the most important things. Dr. Romanov, have you got anything to add to that?
I guess to add to the responsibility part.
Sure.
Because everything what Dmitry was saying is okay, it's good, and the responsibility, it's part what people mostly leaving aside. You know, something like somebody should be responsible, because people by nature, you know, it's trying to avoid responsibility. Is a good thing or not? We all know from history. It's always when people leave responsibility for someone, bad things happen.
Sure.
And the second one is that responsibility is a personal thing, and people always want to give responsibility to someone, you know, which is an incredibly wrong attitude. And I found through my work with people in different fields that responsibility is a private matter which allows to do something what nobody does, you know. And it's related with such things like fears, for example, very
Sure.
prime feeling, you know. And people who are responsible, they could overcome these things, and people who are not responsible, they usually do not go that way. So responsibility, it's kind of ability to take on yourself the burden to do something what nobody does.
Sure.
And this is what makes you different.
Mm-hmm.
And all elite athletes of such level as I would just throw several names which most people know, like Usain Bolt, for example, in sprinting, or in England is Brownlee, Alistair
Yeah.
Brownlee.
Sure.
he's a very responsible young man.
Mm-hmm.
He is not afraid to take this responsibility, and this is what makes him different from everyone else.
Sure, no, I completely understand. So the impact of responsibility upon your performance is really great, and but it's not just personal responsibility. It's like responsibility for every action that you ever take.
Oh, obviously,
yeah.
We are not talking about one small part kind of life. It's every single step what you do in life. It's a responsibility. You're making left or right turn is a responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and people are not calling mom and ask, should I turn right or left? You know, they're taking this responsibility, but on that matter, people take. But when stake for what they do become higher, responsibility become as well.
Yes,
and probably
sure.
double or quadruple, whatever it was.
Yeah,
and then making that step and take responsibility what you do become completely almost unbearable.
Yeah, no, I understand. So that's why at the very highest echelons of sport, you only have one or two athletes who actually make the difference between being really good and great.
Of course, because if you want to run faster than 30 minutes 10K, it's incredible responsibility.
Yeah.
It's overcoming so much your fears, your uncertainties, your concerns, what will happen to you. Maybe you will going to die, you know. So you have to take this responsibility for your own life, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand. And from a primal point of view, that's kind of, you know, that's,
of course,
we have that natural shut off to slow us down, of
right.
course. So on a more on a kind of a more entry level basis,
Mm-hmm.
and for age group triathletes and for people new to the sport, that the level of responsibility enables you to make good decisions about what to do next. Would you agree? In terms of, you know, you're able to understand what you did, why you did it, and take full responsibility for it. So therefore, you can change it next time and try and remedy that for the next action.
I think that the most athletes on all levels are thinking that they should train hard and they should train more, and the more the better, and but it is not the most good way to good fit and for good result. I think that all athletes, it doesn't matter top athlete or beginning, this athlete should ask himself what I want.
Sure.
What I want, because this is most important thing, because all exercises are put into the system, and this system will following to this goal.
Sure.
Only following the system of exercises without goal. It's nonsense.
It's pointless.
It's
I understand.
It's nonsense.
Sure.
It's training for training.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing.
It
It's
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah. So go on. Sorry. So one of the things that we advocate at Tribal is to identify your weakest areas, but you can only really do that if you take responsibility.
I working with top athletes during more than 20 years, and I saw athletes who training very lot. I know a person who swim every day 6K. He ride from 100 till 250 every day, and running from 20 till 30K every day. But he wasn't famous. You don't know him.
That didn't help him.
He done this during about 10 years, but he don't know him.
Sure. He wasn't directed enough with his training. It was too general,
yes.
And he was tired, I should imagine,
yeah.
and didn't make any progression whatsoever.
Yeah.
Sure, I understand. So kind of that really squares off responsibility and as a really important factor. The other thing that I use within the membership area is to talk about awareness. And what I've learned from Dr. Romanov is that actually awareness isn't good enough, and actually it's just completely the wrong term. So I'd talk about awareness, then I'd talk about understanding what was happening. But actually there's a perfectly good word for that, and it's perception. And actually what I've learned from spending time with Dr. Romanov is actually that's probably, along with responsibility, because you can't have one without the other, yes. The most important thing in your progression. So Dr. Romanov, can you explain the difference between awareness and perception, and why perception is so magnificently important?
Well, it was my first impression when I was stumbling into the awareness problem. I was listening several presentations from my colleagues on the West about awareness, and they so much emphasize this part, and I was standing in awe and thinking, why is I putting into these things, you know? Because the English dictionary is very clearly saying about this matter. It's a Webster's. Just open and you will read that. Awareness, it's something in psychology defined as a knowing without understanding. This is what awareness is.
Sure.
You know, so I have to know something but not understand. So I'm coming back to Albert Szent-Györgyi. He's the author of vitamin C. He discovered vitamin C.
Okay, wow.
This one he got Nobel Prize with. And I like his quote. He told, "I'm afraid the end of my life knowing everything and understand nothing." It's incredible. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
This is what difference between awareness and perception.
Sure.
So, just accumulating knowledge about something doesn't mean that get to know this really and understand
You
this.
don't understand it deeply,
You see?
yeah.
And we are confusing this all the time. And when I hear that coach asking, be aware, it means like, okay, somebody across the room is noising. Be aware, but you do not understand what the hell's going on there.
Don't know why they're being noisy.
Yes,
yeah,
right.
Of course.
There is no reason, consequence, or immediate reaction of you on that, because you're just aware about this.
Sure.
Without understanding what it will be. So, in my opinion, it's a completely wrong term what we're using. Yes, awareness exists, but it's a first level. First one is contemplation, when you're sitting and watching, and you understand nothing about what you're watching.
Sure.
Just everyone came through this stage while you have been child, you know, and just watching. You don't understand who is the parents, or who are not parents, who are these people just, you know.
Yeah.
But soon you will understand the difference between them.
Mm-hmm.
This is what perception starts.
And as you explained over the last few days, perception is what makes us different from
Animals.
all other animals, yeah.
Perception is straightforward, related with prediction. Perception related with conceptualization, you know. So you understand what you conceptualize.
Sure.
You see, this is how it, and then after that it goes like that. We can see what we do understand. It's not my word, it's Ray Bradbury. So you understand how it's a complicated look like, but it's a logic behind it.
And it's a very simple
Yes.
concept.
Animals live in a very secluded environment.
Sure.
There is no tomorrow, there is no yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
There is only today. And this today related basically only with prime needs. Food, water, sleep, reproduction.
And, like survival.
Yes,
and existence.
that's
yeah.
it. Beyond of this point, they don't go, you know. They couldn't go out of their surviving environmental, what it's called, secluded area, you know.
Yeah.
They cannot survive there.
Yeah, sure.
But we can. because we can predict not only tomorrow, day after tomorrow, but 1,000 years ahead. We can look at these things. This is what made us humans. And we are thinking in terms of absolutely different level of our vision of the world. We can look back, because our memory, what we are accumulating, allows us to predict patterns, what happened there, and we look for help there, and then predict in the future.
Sure, and adapt and change.
Correct.
Yeah, sure.
And then we build between all of these appearances or phenomena, what we saw and what we memorize as a connected things. Build between dots, lines, and it's become concept. It's become something what we call thing.
Yeah.
System.
Yeah, or approach.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And this is what separates us completely. And this is an incredible tool of developing human beings at all, not only in sport. In sport it's as much is important as any other field, but in sport it's become dominating thing. People who couldn't predict and perceive, they're lost. They were, but they couldn't develop further.
Yeah, no, I understand. So kind of, and that's how that's amazingly relevant to the sporting environment, because unless you learn from the mistakes you've made, you're unable to make good decisions in the future. And Dimitri spoke about the gentleman who spent 6k a day in the water, 100 to 150k on the bike, and 20 to 30 k's of running every day, and 10 years after doing that he still hadn't achieved anything.
Right, it's
So
good labouring.
yeah, he's working really hard, but his perception level was so low that he never understood that he actually wasn't progressing. And what these guys do with their athletes is to raise their personal responsibility level and to increase their perception, so that they're able to understand what's happened before, make great decisions, and then progress.
That's correct.
That's the crux of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, in English it's called nutshell, something like that.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Yeah. Absolutely.